Welcome into the Under 500 Sports Podcast. My name is Eric. I am alongside my two hosts, Aaron. How are you?
What up? What up? How
And
is everybody doing?
and Tyler.
What's up?
What's up, guy?
What up?
Good
Hey,
start.
how are you?
Good start. So let me
Nail
just tell
tuned
you
out.
guys. Let me just tell you guys about how this sports podcast came into being. So, I think all three of us have been wanting to do something like this on our own, and then we all ended up in a fantasy football league, which is an interesting thing, um,
To say the least.
to
Yeah.
say the least. And we all started talking and realized that like we have some pretty good ideas about like what's going on in the sports world, and we really like talking about it. And that sort of came into this idea of what happens if we all got together and shared our perspective about the sports world with other people. Hence the idea of recording and putting this up for the viewing world to see. So we created the Under 500 podcast, which really the name just represents that we are just three married dudes that, are just going to sit around and talk about sports in whatever facets of life that brings us into. So sports could bring us into all sorts of facets of life. I know for me, talking about sports make me think of like joyful memories and like my family and my upbringing and the desire I have to raise my son to love sports just as much as I do.
It's a good dad
And
right there.
yeah.
He's gonna start crying.
Right. No,
Goodness.
sure. Well, if my son does not like the Patriots, there's a spot for him underneath the porch.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
And my wife just heard that and is not okay with that anymore. So Under 500 podcast, we are here to just shoot the breeze about sports. So here's where we want to start. Before we introduce ourselves and exactly who we are and what we are, I want to start off with this. Gentlemen, who is on your Mount Rushmore of U.S. sports? So a couple qualifiers. So U.S. sports, take that for whatever it is. Now, I hope you know what Mount Rushmore is, and if not, I don't know what to tell you. It is there are
We
four
got Google.
presidents. Yes, Google it. There are four presidents on the Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. So you have to fill four spots with U.S. sports athletes, not coaches. We're not going to do coaches.
Okay, good.
So, because I think
No
if we went coaches
coaches?
and athletes, no, I think
That
you
was
could
one
do
of
a
my
whole nother one.
questions.
I think you do a whole nother one of coaches, because that's I feel like that's a whole different ball game. But let's just do
You're right.
U.S. athletes that are
Okay.
on in your opinion, that belong on the Mount Rushmore. So these are like the top of the top. Tyler, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Ooh, you're on deck, Tyler. Let's
On
hear it.
deck, or do you want to go?
Let's
Or do you want to
hear it.
No,
defer?
that's fine. That's fine.
There's,
I'll go.
you have more than enough power to defer to Aaron.
I will
and
go.
make-
I will go.
Aaron, go.
So it's going to become very apparent in this podcast that most of us here very much adore New England sports. Us all being from there, and so I would put my number one. And don't ask me who the original presidents are on Mount Rushmore because I only know.
I couldn't tell you.
I think it's
So,
Abe
it's
Lincoln,
okay.
George
so
Washington.
I think it's George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas
Abraham.
Abraham. I think it goes,
Abraham.
all right. I think it goes left. I think it goes left to right. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt.
Okay.
And
So-
there's Eric's flex for the night.
Yeah.
I'm a history nerd.
So,
and that's just me.
all of them easily replaceable. So let's go. What?
Donald
So-
Trump, Ronald Reagan.
So let's go.
Nixon.
So all right.
Jimmy Carter.
I'm just gonna name four. I'm not gonna put them in any sort of degree of importance. So number one, I'm gonna go with David Ortiz.
Solid.
Mostly because
Okay.
growing up in the greater Boston area, David Ortiz was a household name. He had a massive part in the 2004 Red Sox, in the 2007 Red Sox World Series wins. And so, yeah, I'm going to go David Ortiz, and then I'm going to go I don't want to. I really don't want to say all Boston people.
I can't wait for Larry Bird to end up on this thing.
Nah, you know.
He's the greatest basketball player to ever play.
Hey, you know that Michael Jordan never won a championship when Larry Bird was in the league. In the league.
So, oh man, stop. We're already doing it.
He actually did, but it's okay.
So, and then I'm gonna go with. Oh man, this is tougher than I thought because I really don't want to say just Boston people.
Well,
don't
I
wanna
just
be
find it
biased.
interesting that you did pick David Ortiz. So you're saying in all of baseball, David Ortiz is the guy that belongs on the Mount Rushmore. David Ortiz.
Well, I mean, there could be multiple. Wait, whoa! Can it only be one person from each?
No,
sport?
it doesn't have to be. But
Yeah.
so far, like if you're doing like so 4 major sports and each one represents, if you're doing it that way, your guy for baseball isn't Lou Gehrig, it isn't Ted Williams, it isn't Carl Yastrzemski, it isn't Pedro Martinez or Roger Clemens or Nolan Ryan, it's David Ortiz.
It's David Ortiz for me at
Okay.
least.
A man with
And then
conviction.
that's not that, and that's not just off of his skill or anything, because there's far better baseball players than David Ortiz. But just as a sports figure in my life growing up, David Ortiz.
Yeah, you're
was
emotionally invested in that one.
very,
I can tell. That's okay.
extremely.
No, that's great.
And then I will go with, and this is a person I respect a lot in the sports world. And I'm probably going to get crucified for this, but Steph Curry is going
Ooh,
up there.
Interesting.
Wow. Okay.
Steph Curry,
Interesting
I think.
choice.
That's a hot take right there.
That is.
And it's not, and again, this isn't anything off of just purely skill based. I think he was in his prime, which is probably not happening anymore. Was one of the best 3-point shooters.
I would
at
say
the
the
time.
best.
Probably
I think
the
he's
best.
the best 3-point shooter ever.
And just an absolute class act on and off the court. I thought he was a great guy. I thought he was a great basketball player. I thought he had a lot of integrity on the court. And he just played his heart out in that Cavaliers, what was that, 2016 Cavs versus Warriors?
Yeah.
When the Cavs ended up winning.
Yeah.
I just thought he played his heart out in that, and I gained so much respect for him that year. And then I'm gonna go with
Here it comes.
Thomas.
There it is.
There you go.
Let's do it.
He's going to be on
Let-
all of our lists. So.
Let's go.
I'm going with Tom Brady. Because regardless of your opinion or not, if your opinion is that he is not the GOAT, I hate to tell you, you are wrong.
Or you're wrong. No, it's just be truthful. They're wrong.
No, but yeah, I've been talking about people, sports figures that have. No, I don't want to say touched me because that's kind of weird, but because they haven't.
We're not here to call them
They
out.
haven't yet.
Well, this
And
is
so
a podcast about a whole different problem.
I put Tom Brady in there because, again, growing up in New England.
He kissed his son?
Stop it. Oh, that's rough. So
Gotta edit that out.
yeah.
I don't think we do.
No way. So I put Tom Brady in there just because growing up in New England, again, I was, how old was I? So I'd be 7 in 2000. So 7 years old, just starting to really, be able to know what sports are. Started playing sports at that age, and he's just a figure that I have looked up to my entire life. Whether I never had a passion to be a professional sports player, that was never my idea. But Tom Brady has just been the constant, not role model, but and I don't want to say idol either, but he's that sports guy that you always looked up to as a kid if you were from New England. So he's up there. Also, he's up there just because of skill alone. There's no other quarterback that's better than him. And so my last one, we can't do coaches, so that stinks. But
would it have been Bill?
That'll be another episode.
Either would have been Bill or, hot take, Mike Tomlin.
Ugh. Yeah, definitely needs to be another episode.
That, yeah.
I'll explain.
I thought you were going to say Bill Jackson or something.
Not in this one, but Mike Tomlin, I think, is a great coach. And then my last guy is going to be, man, this is tough.
Dead air.
This is tough, dude.
Well, you have a
How do
ton
you-
of options still. You still have
You have
NHL.
thousands of players.
Tons
Yeah,
of
I know, but
iconic
how do you
players
put
out
one on
there.
Mount Rushmore?
I think it's pretty easy to put one on Mount
All right,
Rushmore,
all
actually.
right.
There's one guy left that you have
Zdeno
to put
Chara.
Who?
Zdeno Chara.
Chara?
Yeah, dude.
So we're going with like sentimental picks.
Oh
Yep.
gosh. So
This is
so
my
Tyler
this is my sentimental.
So this will be fine because Tyler's gonna pick emotionally. I'm interested to see how Aaron's gonna pick, and then I'm gonna pick.
I have two lists. I have an objective one and an emotional one.
Oh boy. Okay, Aaron. Now I'm excited to hear that.
But
So
yeah, so
Tyler, just to
Chara.
review.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So Chara is on there just because, again, he's been on the team for who knows how long. When did he get signed? 06, 07? Or before? No.
I have no idea.
It was some. I know he was on the Stanley Cup winning team in 2011. So
Right. So just
it
to
was
review,
before that.
we have David Ortiz.
Yep.
We have Tom Brady.
Yep.
We have Stephen Curry, and then we have Zdeno Chara. So we have one from every sport. Okay.
Yep.
One from every of the four, or maybe
four biggies.
four of the 5 biggest sports.
Also, if you haven't noticed, I gave this zero thought beforehand. So next time we do a list, I will
you mean
put
that
something.
long pause wasn't planned?
All right. Fair enough. So Tyler with no thought goes all heart. Okay, we can do that. Aaron, I'm excited to hear the objective and the emotional and where they overlap.
Yeah, this
will be good.
All right, objective. Number one, Thomas Edward Brady. It has to be 100% best football player to ever play. I don't see how he couldn't be on the Mount Rushmore. I mean, just thinking statistically, championship-wise, he's untouchable. So it has to be him. Number two, it's got to be Michael Jordan from the NBA. 6-0 in the finals, like arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. He averaged over 30 for his freaking career, which is absolutely incredible. And I think if he didn't retire in between those 2 3-peats, he would have gotten at least one, probably 2 more championships.
That's a good point.
So you're thinking he could have gone like 8 or 9 championships.
I think he could have. I think he could have gotten 8 because dude won 3 in a row, retired, came back, and then did another 3-peat.
So he could have had pretty much the entire 1990s decade to himself.
He could have easily. And so you have, and not only just basketball wise, which if you watch The Last Dance, did both of you guys see The Last Dance? Tyler, I know you haven't yet.
Not yet.
Have you seen it?
I do want to watch it.
Oh my god.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Like,
it's on Netflix right now, Tyler. Go after it.
I knew Michael Jordan was great, but when you watch
that
that and you see how he played and his competitiveness, it's unreal. Just watching that, and it's also what he did for the game worldwide. Is he like put the NBA on the next level? He was the biggest superstar ever. The only one who could rival his status worldwide in fame right now might be LeBron. But obviously we have technology that's helped advance that more.
Right.
Number 3 is I might catch some flack for this because I'm not a big baseball guy, but I'm going Barry Bonds.
Oh,
I like it.
Hear me out.
I like it.
I've never been a big baseball fan or following it, but I remember when I was a kid in high school, I actually paid attention to stuff going on in baseball because I was hearing about what Barry was doing with the home runs. And
you mean what he was putting into his forearms and thighs to hit?
I have my thoughts on that too. So 1, it got my attention into the sport, which has never happened before. Number 2, I am all for juicing them up as much as possible. I'm here to be entertained.
I actually agree with that.
They have movies, they all have access to it. I want to see freaks play. I want to see home runs bombed. I want to see touchdowns all day. Give them juice. So
Mr. Seven Fingers over there catching touchdowns.
Yeah.
So for me, and he's the all-time home run leader. I mean, multiple MVPs. It's crazy. So I have to put Barry Bonds up on there. For the fourth, if we're going for the big 4, just objectively speaking, it would have to be Gretzky, just because his points totals overall are it's stupid what he did. Even the guys who are like the top scorers now and what they did, they still don't come close to what he did, which is pretty incredible.
Yep.
So it'd have to be Gretzky. Now, real quick, my personal ones is a little different. If we're just going like my favorites growing up,
Okay. All right. I
Mar-
can get on board with this.
I loved Marshall Falk growing up. I loved watching him play.
Okay.
Like
Okay. I
he was
know
the
that name.
first like dual threat running back that was like
Yeah.
legit,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing. He was like the first. I think he was the first one to do that.
Man, those early Patriot years, because emotionally, I would be Teddy Bruschi. Man,
Yeah,
Teddy
he was
Bruschi,
like that's a guy like you could resonate with, you
Yeah.
know, and like
he's-
we were talking about earlier, likable.
he's likable. Yeah, that's the whole
Yes.
thing. Like,
Very likable. So I would have to go with Marshall Falk, just because
I have
like
his
I was
signature.
such a big fan of. Wait, what? You have Marshall Falk's signature?
I'm pretty sure I have him and Teddy Bruschi.
How much?
Wait,
On the same
what?
jersey.
Wait,
Yeah,
how?
Aaron's about to buy
We went
it from
to
me.
Michelle and I went to I think it was Marshall Falk's his induction into the Patriots Hall of Fame, and he walked by us, and I was like, I'm not walking up to this guy, and Michelle's like, oh, can you sign this? And grabs my Tom Brady throwback red jersey and gets his signature on it.
That's phenomenal.
That's amazing.
I'm jealous.
I'm
I'm
pretty
not
sure
gonna
he
lie.
stayed-
I'm a
he stayed-
big, I'm
he
a
stayed
big
local,
LeBron.
too. I'm pretty sure he
Lo-
lives.
Yeah,
Doesn't he
I said
live
LeBron.
in?
yeah, that's all right.
Doesn't he live
Falk.
in Norfolk? He stayed local.
I don't know.
Marshall?
I have no
I'm
idea.
Or,
pretty sure he stayed local.
Really?
All right.
Yeah.
Talk
Okay.
among yourselves. I'll look it up.
Anyways, the second one I'd have to go. I'm a big personal like LeBron fan. I do love LeBron. That's why his name Freudian slip popped in there. I followed him since he came to the league in 2003. I had his like rookie season poster in my room, and so I didn't really grow up in the Jordan area. I mean, I was a little kid, but didn't know anything about NBA when I was like 5. But when Bron came on the scene, that's when I really started following basketball. So that's like an emotional pick for me there. If I'd have to go again, number 3 I'd go back to the NBA. It would probably have to be Paul Pierce. I liked watching him play in the Celtics years too. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put him in like the top 50 to play personally, but I just loved what he did for the Celtics, especially in the early 2000s.
Yeah, what he did for our generation of Celtic
Yeah.
fan, and I'm no Celtic fan. Like, I am a Celtic fan. And let me take that back. Basketball's like my 4th or even my 5th sport. It's not a sport I actively follow. I didn't grow up following it, but I watched that, and I know who Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen were. Like,
Right.
I knew that Paul Pierce was like
Yeah,
the
big
building
th-
block
yeah,
they
the big
used.
three was just
Right. And then my
fantastic.
last guy, it would be Brady, but just because I already picked Brady, I'm not. It would be Terrell Davis, for the Broncos. I loved him as a kid. I had all of his posters and like figurines and stuff. He was like a workhorse back. Just didn't have an ego, never complained. He just went out there and he worked. And he had a 2,000-yard season and helped them get those 2 Super Bowls to end Elway's career. So that's my personal like emotional picks.
Right on.
To go with it. All right, Eric, you're up.
All right. So I tried to hold myself to a couple extra rules. I tried to hold myself to like a name that's like a household name. Like when you think of the sport, what name do you think of? And then I also tried to hold myself to, did they elevate the sport? So I think under those 2 parameters, the first one's really easy, and that's Michael Jordan. Like I just said, I am not a basketball guy. I did not grow up watching basketball. Like we were baseball, football, and NASCAR, and some people will pick on me for that, but those are like the sports that we watch. That's the stuff we grew up with.
Right.
I could tell you if you said, hey, name me one basketball star or one basketball player, the first name that would pop into my head is Michael Jordan. And then watching The Last Dance, like it's obvious why that is. He elevated the sport. He elevated the sport internationally. What did you say? He averaged 30 points, like
for his career.
career,
like over his whole career. Yeah, he averaged 30.
Did he win the most championships? No, I think Bill Russell did that.
Bill
right?
Russell does. Yeah, he has 12
or
11 or 12.
Generation. Michael Jordan, definitely. Like when you think of the sport and how he elevated the sport and like the Nike Air Jordans and what he did for culture, like
right.
It's
unparalleled.
Secondly, I go Tiger Woods.
I respect it. I respect that.
So
pick.
How did I not pick Tiger Woods?
So
because he did that for golf.
I thought about doing hockey, and I really like hockey, but again, I didn't really grow up watching it. And I know who Wayne Gretzky is, like, but you say Wayne Gretzky to the average person,
they don't know.
They say, who?
Yeah.
If you say Tiger Woods to the average person, they're going to say, "Oh, the golf guy, right?" Like he elevated the sport.
He
Well,
cheated
yeah,
on his
someone
wife.
who
that's
Yeah.
that's it. Well,
a whole
it's a
His
good
wife
point
took a
because
baseball bat to his car.
I think
Oh, yeah.
I think a great way to gauge this is if you went to a country where these sports aren't famous and you said these names, they would know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, I agree. So, so we got Michael Jordan, we got Tiger Woods. I go Babe Ruth. So you talk about Barry
respect
Bonds
that
and all
one.
the home runs he hit. Babe Ruth hit 714 home runs
While smoking.
in the while smoking, drinking beer, and eating fried chicken. Like you talk about a guy who, when you think of baseball, I mean, you think depending on where you grew up, Nolan Ryan. When I lived in Texas, Nolan Ryan was a big name. Sure, I didn't. I mean, I knew of Nolan Ryan, but like the Sandlot was not made about a signature of Nolan Ryan. It's Babe Ruth. Like he's the guy that did the whole Curse of the Bambino. It was Babe
Yeah.
Ruth being sold from the Red Sox to the Yankees and that whole thing and that whole narrative. It's Babe Ruth. Like Babe Ruth is the guy that when people who don't know about baseball or people like Aaron who haven't really grown up following the sport, is that correct, Aaron? Like
It's true.
you know Babe Ruth. Anybody
Yep.
who sees Babe
No,
Ruth
I'm
or
not
hears
mad
the
at that
name,
pick. It's a
they'll
good
say.
pick.
So then that brings me to my last one. Now, when I was thinking about this list, like if you were making a blueprint of the sports Mount Rushmore, I have etched in as number 4 Tom Brady. But can I ask you this question?
Sure.
Aaron, you're 30, right?
Yes.
So you're the oldest person on here, and that's not
Yep.
not a dig. But okay, so if you ask somebody who's over 30 from Pittsburgh, Dallas, Denver, Green Bay, who the greatest football player of all time is, do they say Tom Brady?
So I think in deep inside, they know it's Tom Brady. I don't know if their pride would allow them to say it though.
Would they say
Terry Bradshaw,
or would they say Terry Bradshaw, or someone from San Francisco say Joe Montana
Roger
because he did it
Staubach,
before anybody did?
Troy
Roger
Aikman.
Staubach,
Yep,
Troy
that's a
Aikman.
good point.
So I just think as far as like the emotional side of that goes, or like the recognizable side, the kind of the rules I held myself to, I think Tom Brady is very recognizable, and I think he elevated the sport. But did he elevate it to the same degree that like Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw and Roger Staubach did? I mean, there's a country song that was like, I was Roger Staubach in my backyard had a shoebox full of baseball cards. Like people don't sing songs about Tom Brady, but I hear about Roger Staubach or Terry Bradshaw. Like those are
Right.
big names.
Okay.
And he definitely
So-
didn't do a Michael Jordan either.
No, he didn't. And he was playing he's played and and the harder part too is he continues to play. That's
Right.
the whole thing we have with LeBron James too. Like he continues to play. So we're having an argument, or people have had arguments about someone who's continuing to play and win at the highest level versus someone who's already done it in a different era where the rules were slightly different. And I do think that's the case with Tom Brady, is that he plays in an era that allows him to be as good as he is because of the quarterback play and how well protected the quarterback is compared to the earlier, or really how every player in the NFL is protected today versus 20, 30 years ago. But that brings me to these two things, which puts Tom Brady on my list. Number one is the story. We were talking earlier today.
That is true.
The freaking story. There's this book I read called The Life of Pi. It's a great book, and at the end you get to choose the better story is kind of the punchline. Choose the better story. Peyton Manning picked 1 overall. Even Michael
and then
Jordan
refused to
picked
go to the
1st
team that he
overall.
got drafted by.
And then yeah, exactly. So all
Yeah.
Tom Brady, 199 overall, 6th round pick. No one knew how good he was going to be. And freak accident happens, steps in, goes on a 9 championship a Super Bowl appearing run in which he wins 6 of them with teams that changed in a league that changed over 20 years. And he's still in the running for the MVP. So the story. And then secondly, can we look at the Patriots right now? I mean, we're all Patriots fans. How many games? The Patriots are currently 3-5. How many would they won with Tom Brady? At least 2 more.
I'd give them
I
at
would say
least 2 more wins.
At least 2 more. They would have been at least 5-3.
They'd be 5-3 right
Well,
now.
they wouldn't have lost
Absolutely.
to the Broncos.
So I go unequivocally Tom Brady.
Yep.
despite all the debate, and listen, we have had so many debates with our college friends over the years,
Yep.
and the thing I keep saying is, they debate Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning when he was big, and then they were spitefully, some of them, and we talked about it, Tom Brady versus Andy Dalton, which no one was really taking seriously, but like some of the
I hope
stats,
not.
kind of weird
For
in
real.
Andy Dalton's, favor. You do Peyton Man, and then he won. Tom Brady won his fourth, and it's he's still not as good as Joe Montana. And then recently we just had a conversation. He's not as talented as Pat Mahomes. No. The constant in every last one of those conversations is Tom Brady versus fill in the blank. It's Tom Brady. He's the constant. That's the rule. That's how that works.
That's a great point. When we were talking about that and you said that, I was like, that's kind of the nail in the coffin. Because when Tom Brady won,
so that you can't ever have anyone compete with it, with that kind of logic.
No, you can't, and you can't compete with his stats in the playoffs. Like, Joe Flacco is Joe average, but then he goes lights out in most of his playoff runs. But he's only got one real good sample,
real
maybe
playoff
two.
run.
Right. Tom Brady, you just know he's going to be MVP caliber, and then the playoffs happen, and the dude goes insane. Like he goes nuts. Tyler, is this helping you out?
Mahomes has done that the past couple seasons.
We know how excited you are about talking Tom Brady.
I don't know. Mahomes has done it the past couple seasons, though, in the postseason.
He has, but
and he's going to do it again. They're going to go deep in the playoffs again. Like he's got the. I don't know. I still hold that. I think he has the chance if he stays healthy, barring anything horrible happening. He could be the one to surpass Brady. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying of everyone I've seen play at quarterback, he's the one who has the best potential to do that.
I freaking love Pat Mahomes, man. Like I love watching him play. He doesn't sniff anywhere near Tom Brady as far as accomplishment.
Oh yeah, no, career-wise, no. He's only 25.
He's not there yet.
No, I agree.
So there you go. That's us as far as sports go. We all just kind of figured that we would talk about sports first because who really cares who I am and where I live or where we grew up or whatever if you can't get on board with how we feel about sports. Like we are passionate about sports. We talk about how it permeates and how we can't even be objective at times because it permeates just our emotions and how we get captivated by sports. But with that being said, let's take a minute and at least introduce ourselves because anybody that's listening to this that doesn't really know who we are is these three guys are they're just blabbing on about sports, and I guess I kind of agree with them. But what's the basis for that? Why are they all worshiping the ground that Tom Brady spit on? Let's go. What are you talking about? So Tyler, who the heck are you, guy?
All right, I am Tyler. Wait, what's the parameters here? What am I? Who?
Just I don't know. Talk about yourself.
My address? No, I'm just kidding.
My social just so happens to be 0.
I have a Vimeo. You can Vimeo me money.
Vimeo? I have an OnlyFans. If you guys want to subscribe.
All right.
Of the three of us, that was never mind. I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm Tyler. I am a married 27-year-old guy. I'm originally from North Reading, Massachusetts. Shout out. Yep, I grew up there my entire life up until 2013 when I moved to Derry, New Hampshire. Shout out.
Live free or die, right?
Yeah. That's where I purchased my first gun.
I remember that.
And then my wife and I moved out to Kansas. I live here in Osborne, Kansas, and I am currently, me and my wife serve as a missionary interns at her father's church, and that's what we do. And that's
Tyler. How many people live in your current city?
The town I live in right now, I think, with the most recent census was about 1,400 people.
How does that compare to North Reading? What was North Reading, 15,000 or something?
North Reading was a small town in my brain, which was 15,000.
Yeah. You don't really realize small town until you kind of move out of the Northeast where everything's congested, and then you're like, oh, small town is
this is not
400 people. And 2 of those people might have actually been dogs.
Yeah. So basically, I moved from New England sports to Kansas City sports, mainly the Chiefs because every other team around here is not very good.
Are there a lot of St. Louis Blues fans around you? Just out of curiosity, or are there just not a whole lot of hockey people down there?
No.
What about my niche sport, NASCAR? Are there people into NASCAR down there or not really?
And nobody's really talked about it. Everybody races their own cars around here.
Races are what you cut
They
out?
race their own cars.
Oh, that's cool. Like dirt track?
Yeah, it'd be flat track. Dirt.
Oh, that's kind of cool actually. I want to go watch that.
We get a track here in town. We go every year to the races. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool actually.
But yeah, so I moved to a place which is very funny where they cannot stand Tom Brady and the Patriots.
It's horrible.
And every time somebody asks me who, are you rooting for the Chiefs? No, absolutely not. I'm rooting for the Patriots, and I get a big eye roll. Why are you doing that?
They have to explain, you're from New England and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
oh, okay. My dad was a New England fan. He would have made me sleep outside if I was. Oh, okay, yeah, we get that. Yeah.
Usually I just end up telling
you're gonna really put Ben on the porch.
No, I'm really never gonna.
That's gonna happen.
Nobody call DSS, please.
I live in a house with Jets fans, so it's a house divided.
Oh, Jets fans. Yeah, that's me. That's who I am. I love sports. I feel like I should include that.
Why do you love sports, Tyler?
I grew up playing sports. I played baseball a lot. I was very good at football just because you can't see. Well, you could probably see it in the camera. If I'm a huge person, and so
Tyler, you're just a big teddy bear.
Yeah, that's what people tell me.
Huge person and a huge heart.
Oh,
huge heart.
Not like in the bad way medically, but like metaphorically.
So yeah.
Hi, I'm Aaron. I'm a physical trainer, so I know what that joke means.
Salty.
But yeah, I love sports just because I grew up being good at football. And then one year I got in a bicycle accident and broke my elbow, and I never played after that. But baseball was huge to me, throughout college and throughout moving here. Baseball has just been a sport that has, especially when I moved out here, I got really homesick, and watching the Red Sox games, even though in the last year and this year they weren't too great. Suck, terrible. I haven't missed more than 3 games a season, and I love just sitting here watching football. Watching baseball in the summertime. It like defines me as a person.
Right on. Aaron?
The name's Aaron Cable. Yes, that is the last name. And no, it is not spelled like television cable. I've heard that my entire life.
Your last name
I get that. No, C-A-B-L-E. No, it's not C-A-B-L-E.
There's a K in there.
And of course, like over the phone saying K-A-E-B-L-E, I have to say it like 50 times. They're like K-A-B? No, K-A-E. K-A-V-L-E. No, forget it. Just put C-A-B-L-E. I'll know it's me.
In that sense, Aaron, we are similar because I have a K on the end of my name. So having to explain to people that a name that typically has a C in it actually has a K is super frustrating.
And they tell you that you're wrong for your own name.
My least favorite, so they do E-R-I-K, but they'll write it E-R-I-C, and then I say there's a K, and then they write an L through it, so it looks like Ehrlich.
Ehrlich?
Eric.
Well, anyways, that's the longest introduction for just a name I think that I've ever heard. But I grew up in Springfield, Mass. Almost forgot for a second, and I live in North Attleboro, Mass. now, so I've pretty much stayed in state the entire time. I also I'm a trainer, as Eric said, but I'm also a pastor. So we got the spiritual side and the physical side locked down on that.
Pastor with an OnlyFans, apparently.
No, my OnlyFans is for the pastor side. I quote scripture and they sign up for it.
Okay, yeah.
That's obviously what that was for. And so I stayed in Massachusetts. Fun fact, I've never left the States. So I haven't really lived, I guess, if traveling's your thing. As far as sports go, I grew up playing football, lots of basketball, and so sports and just competitiveness has been a huge part of my life. I actually get too competitive when I play, and it's a problem. And I become a whole other animal when I'm playing a sport. But I don't know, I just love it. I love competing, and I think I'm a lot better in my head than I actually am in most of those things. But it's also what helped spark my interest in working out and getting in shape because I love playing sports. Worked with a couple sports teams at the collegiate level, like with their athletes, which is pretty cool. Liberty and UMass Amherst. So, sports have been a big part.
Say that again, please.
in UMass Amherst. How I was there.
Thank God. You can tell. So, transition. I'm also from Western Mass, and you can tell a native of Western Massachusetts by the way they say Amherst, because
Oh yeah, that's true.
those dang Yankees from Eastern Mass, those city slickers, say Amherst. No,
Yeah,
no, there's no
Are
H
you
in that.
uneducated? Like, why
Yeah,
are you
no,
talking like that?
no. I bet you if we asked Tyler and half of his family and friends, they'd say Amherst, and we'd all laugh at
Yeah,
them.
you
because-
automatically assume they got like they didn't finish high school. Oh, okay, that's why.
Wait.
All right.
Yeah, no, there's no H in that.
Did you just make fun of me?
I thought about that halfway through, but I already committed.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just apologize later.
The funny part, I'm sitting in my head, I'm like, Amherst. It's
exactly
Amherst.
No, it's Amherst. Just like
Amherst.
North Reading over there. Come on now.
Yeah, Peabody.
Oh,
that-
stop.
Bill Ricka.
Stop.
Bill Erica.
Bill Erica.
Oh my gosh.
All right,
Okay.
Eric, who are you?
So my name is Eric J. Picard. My friends call me Captain. I am a native of Western Massachusetts as well, although probably Aaron and I have nothing in common.
No, vastly
I
different
came-
as far as where we grew up.
Aaron came from Springfield, which is largely regarded as people from my area as a city, which I guess it really would be a city, but
It's 100, 160, 170,000.
well,
it's-
which is
it's
crazy
big.
because growing up I thought it was a big city, and then I saw the world and went, oh, that's really not that big.
No,
So I
it's
grew up in a small town of East Hampton, Mass. We all, by the way, met through the college that we all went to.
Oh, good call. They should probably
and
know
we-
that.
We briefly went to the same church before we all branched out. At the time, I was an intern at that church. Tyler was playing in music, and Aaron, I think you were just kind of there.
I was just there. I
You
just
were
existed.
just there. But of the three of us, I mean, you're the one that's got the full-time pastor job, so that's cool.
That's true.
I lived in Texas for a little while. Lived in Southeast Texas as an intern at a church, and got to experience what it's like to live in an area that has Dallas Cowboys fans who I have tremendous respect for, actually, and a lot of them actually have some pretty good football perspectives. We'll have a Dallas Cowboy fan on here next week, actually, so I'm excited for that. And now I live in Hudson Valley region of New York, and I don't know if those of you
Boo.
know this, but there are Jets fans out there. Like, people actually, I saw so I work in a broadband cable industry, and I'm a field tech, so I go to people's houses. I saw a Jets bus, like a party bus. Like, I
That's
mean,
odd.
I guess you got to get absolutely stone
That's a-
cold drunk.
Yeah,
to
that's-
go to
you have to
that's
get
a-
drunk.
go to a
It's the only way you can get over it.
That's a huge waste of $250,000.
Well, I think he got it dirt cheap and then he painted it himself. It was actually pretty
Oh.
legit. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean that would be the way to watch a Jets game is to get totally plastered and have somebody drive you home because there's no other way you could possibly watch it. I think it's fair to say that we are all huge like New England sports fans, and I think we're going to try our best to try and talk about them objectively and talk about other sports and try and get people on here that have other favorites. But I think it's just natural that this will be a sports podcast, but there'll be like if you were to paint it, you would paint it almost like New England colors because that's just kind of our default, and I guess we'll
Yeah.
have to work on that as the show develops. And I think it's probably fair to say that all three of us are New England Patriots fans first. Is that, I mean, Aaron, are you more a Celtics fan, and Tyler, are you more a Red Sox fan? I think growing up, I was probably more a Red Sox
Football is
fan.
always higher for me on that list.
I agree.
I love it. I love the
think-
NBA too.
I think football and baseball are equal for me.
Gotcha. And as far as sports go, I'm football first, probably baseball, and then again, I'll get picked on for this, but I would rather watch a NASCAR race than a basketball game. But I will watch basketball. But you know what? I probably would watch hockey over NASCAR at this point. I really have started to like hockey. So
So
let's
good.
do this. Let's transition into the state of football. Can I just give you guys a sentence and let you guys just digest this for a moment?
Sure.
I am hungry.
Actually, it's two sentences. The Bills put up 44 points. And let me phrase that better. Josh Allen and the freaking Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Bills, you know that team in Buffalo that usually is the laughingstock of the league, outscored leading MVP candidate Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks, which not too long ago had the Legion of Boom, the 12th man, the rah, we're the best defense in the league.
Oh, they're all
Russell
gone. The whole
Wilson,
Legion of Boom's not there anymore.
I'm just saying they're gone, and the Bills The Bills put 44. Now, you could tell me that the Legion of Boom is gone, and that's why the Seattle defense sucks. Does it 44 points to the Buffalo Bills suck, or should we take the Buffalo Bills seriously here?
Well, I do honestly believe that the Seahawks defense is just that trash because they've been doing this all year, giving up points
coaching
like
that trash,
crazy. I honestly, I think it's
fine.
But I think it's their personnel because they've lost everyone that they've had in the past. They have all new players on that defense, and they're just, I mean, maybe Pete's just losing it because he's old. He's like in his 70s right now or something.
Is he the oldest or is Bill the oldest?
He's one of them. He's one of the oldest in the league. But so, I mean, you have to there is the defense part that Seattle just blows, but you do have to give credit still to the Bills because they've had a couple games this year where they've put up big points, and Josh Allen has had some big game. He's been balling this year. He's been going under the radar.
He's been a fantasy threat for most of the season, which is no one expected that.
Pete Carroll is the
over 400 yards on Sunday.
Yeah, that's a great stat for a young quarterback like that.
3 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. The dude's got wheels too, which is weird.
And they have Josh Brown or John Brown? It's a John Brown. I think it's John. Josh Allen, John Brown. They have Beasley, who's a pretty good slot guy, and they have Stephon
Diggs. And Diggs has been huge for them this year.
Singletary, and they have a semi-decent or a sneaky. I think a sneaky good. I'd have to look up the stats, but I think the Buffalo Bills defense isn't terrible.
No, they got a decent squad. I think they have a good chance of winning the division this year. Miami's also doing pretty well too, though. They're 5-3, I think.
New England sports fan, the Buffalo Bills, who, by the way, I'm pretty sure when the Patriots were really bad in the early 90s and the Bills lost to those those 4 Super Bowls in a row, I think 2 were to Dallas or something like that. Even then, the Patriots beat the Bills. Like, go look it up. Yeah. Some of those wins that the Patriots had in some of those abysmal seasons, they still beat the Bills. And you just lost, New England sports fan, to the Bills. They're going to win the division.
They're going to lose again to them this year.
I really believe that they're a force to be reckoned with this year. In the league.
So let me ask you this question too, because this came up recently. Which is more likely that in the AFC East you will have Josh Allen as the Bills quarterback, Trevor Lawrence as the Jets quarterback, and Tua as the Miami quarterback, and you left there with nothing to play with as far as quarterback goes?
Broken Cam Newton.
A has-been that never was, Jarrett Stidham.
Did you see that article that I posted? How the Patriots are done with Stidham.
Totally done on him. I think they
can
go
he's
after.
He's not going to get it. They're just soured on him completely.
So how likely is that versus the Patriots fully tanking and being able to somehow mysteriously and magically trade up for Trevor Lawrence? Do you really think Trevor Lawrence
could be soul to get him?
And should they? Should they sell their soul?
Well, one, I don't think it's possible. I don't think there's any way that they'd have to give up everything to get that first pick because everyone knows it's going to be Trevor. So I don't think it's possible. 2, even if it was possible, it's like I don't know. Their supporting cast still sucks.
Which would you go fix first? Would you go get some young talent to surround your quarterback with and go take someone like Alex Smith or Joe Flacco or someone like that who, is just kind of a
You can get a bargain with him.
Or would you go after the quarterback and then build around him?
I think I would build first.
With what they what they would have to do to get him, I don't think it would be worth it.
Yeah, they'd have to give up everything.
Because then you'd be in
you'd be in worse shape.
If you do that, you're already starting your rebuild. And then the amount of things you'd have to give up to get him, your rebuild just gets that much longer.
Yeah. Do you think that you could keep Cam Newton another year and continue to rebuild with him, or do you think that's a waste of time at this point?
I don't see why not.
Do you go
we'll see how he finishes the year.
Yeah.
I think we got to see how he didn't look too bad on Monday. He still hasn't thrown a freaking touchdown. Like, he's thrown 2 touchdowns in 7 games now, which I don't understand how that happens, but he did look better.
If you had Seattle Patriots at Seattle. Cam Newton, are you good?
Yeah.
And can he be that every week consistently?
I don't think he could be that consistently.
I don't
think
think
he's
so
shown
either.
us. It's been
He
how
wasn't-
many games? That was our second game, and this is what?
We're 3 and
We're
5.
about,
So
we're
This is-
about,
we're
this is
going
the
to week
eighth.
10.
So it'd be
This is 8th game. It's his
6
7th because he
games.
missed one because of COVID.
oh yeah. So yeah.
So he's
I
played
just-
7.
I don't think he hasn't shown the Patriots that he can be consistent.
He hasn't at all. Well, no, he had a 3-week stretch where he was consistently bad.
Right.
So-
exactly.
I mean, that is some consistency.
So you're Bill Belichick in 2021. What do you do at quarterback
Hopefully you get
as
another.
it currently is constituted?
I mean, hopefully you luck out with another late round draft pick quarterback who ends up being great.
Or you go for like you were saying, Eric, you try to get like a deal on like an Alex Smith or Flacco or something, like with some sort of veteran
Sure.
who I mean, so you're not like completely at the bottom like
Yeah.
with a Stidham.
Mhm.
You have a chance to win maybe 7-8 games.
Jimmy Garoppolo is out there on the market.
Dude, they're saying that could be a potential. I'm just
I'm
if
out on him.
it wasn't for the injuries,
Yeah, he's
I
made of
would be.
glass.
but he
He's
gets
no-
hurt all the
Well, I
time.
mean,
And
and
he's
talk
not Ben
about
Roethlisberger either. He's not some big guy that can take a few knee injuries and just like miss a week or half a quarter or something and get back
Roethlisberger's
out there.
a grown freaking man. Do you see that hit he took Sunday?
up to the
Didn't see
knee.
that hit.
Oh my gosh! And he like
you-
still finished the game.
Aren't you doing a deal in like fantasy right now where one of you is trading away?
Dude, I'm all
what's-
for that.
What's the deal right now? Because I
I
saw
have
that
Russell
when
Wilson
I
as my quarterback. I'm like, I don't need Ben.
I
If
saw
you're gonna give me a
Ben
running back, I'll take
I
it.
s- I saw Ben Roethlisberger put up 30, and I'm like,
Well, one of the guys
you know,
in our
Brady,
group
I
chat,
just
well,
really, my reasoning behind it is I really want to give the top 4 a just a little bit of an edge.
yeah.
Dude,
Who
I
you
knew
giving
that
up?
100% because I was like, all right, I'll do that. And then when
so you
the
got rid
person in our chat's like, what's going on? Why are we allowing this?
I was trying to get rid of Lamar Jackson too. But
What-
Jacob was
what,
like, "Nah, I don't want him."
What did you give up for Big Ben? Or I'm sorry, yeah, Tyler. What did you give up for Big Ben? Who'd you trade back to Aaron?
James Robinson,
So I'll take that.
the starting running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars,
That's my
Two
new
who
flex.
has,
injured.
who has been having a pretty good season, if I do say so
Yeah,
myself.
He is. So I'm like, I saw that. I'm like, there's my new flex position.
Yep, and that's called. I won't say it out loud.
It rhymes with pollution.
It rhymes with umping.
Oh my gosh.
It's all right. Brent already traded Mahomes.
Yeah, seriously. And I'm sitting here also 5-3 like Aaron, thinking, I wonder what fair deal I can try and get. And you know what? No, I'll just go fleece somebody.
And
As
then I wake up
as-
this morning and I'm like, oh, trade offer. Okay. Yeah, take Ben. I already have Russ.
Oh, hold on. Let me tell you my other ones. Let me get my other
This
ones
is
here really
great.
quick.
Not like any of you listeners care about what's going on in our
There was-
fantasy league.
No,
right
but this-
now.
This is
This is like, I mean, Big Ben is injured, and I don't know. Like, could the Steelers? While you're looking that up, could the Steelers go 16-0? Could they go all the
absolutely.
way?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think- I don't think
Oh,
Big
come
Ben's
on.
in-
What?
They won't go 16-0.
They've been great,
One that's
though.
so hard to do. That's so hard to do. They'll lose one or two.
Do what? What
Actually,
happened, Tyler?
I'm gonna pull up their schedule.
I just think they're doing great. Anyways, and then my other one. Oh, man. This is to the league commissioner as well. Kenny Galladay for Brandon Cooks. I'm giving away Kenny Galladay and getting Brandon Cooks.
Although
Tyler,
Cooks had a good game. This
Maybe
Sunday.
it'd be better at finding this, but I'm trying to find the odds because I heard recently that the Steelers were only like, as far as the odds go for the rest of the season, they were only not favorited. I don't know what the right word is there. I don't.
Oh,
gambling.
they actually don't have a hard schedule for the rest of the. You want?
No,
we'll-
Yeah, who
they're
is
like-
it?
schedule. The next one is the Bengals. They'll be the
Win.
Bengals. The Jaguars.
Win.
Win.
They'll be the Jaguars. The Ravens. That was a close one last time. That's the
The
one. where
Ravens
it
are
could go.
underperforming and the
Yeah, but
biggest
it's a bit-
disappointment
it-
right now.
They were one
division.
pass away
They
from
always-
beating.
They always that might be the one they're not favored in, or it's like even.
That's an iffy one.
I still
That
don't.
one could go either way. Just because
Lamar
Washington-
looks Lamar's terrible this year.
Washington's next. They'll win. The Bills. So that
I think would be I think that's the most difficult matchup they have.
Are you picking Josh Allen and the Bills over Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Coughlin?
I mean, the Bills. I'm not saying that the Bills are definitely going to win.
Weird year, but are you really going to get that weird? The Bills over the Steelers.
I'm saying out of the remainder of the Steelers' schedule, that is one of the 2 or 3 games that it's a maybe. Like they might lose.
Oh, I think that'll be their hardest matchup of the season.
And then they play the Bengals again.
They don't play the Chiefs at all.
To the suckbag New England Patriots. If it wasn't for that freaking quarterback fumbling the explicitive football with the go-ahead touchdown like 10 yards away, the Bills would have been
think about it.
But anyways, then they go back to the Bengals, which they'll win. Then they play the Colts.
They'll win that.
Which they'll win, and then they end the year with the Browns. So actually, they have a pretty easy walk for the next half of the season.
Bills is the hardest game in that whole list.
Yeah,
I think the Bills.
To me, Bills and Ravens are the 2 iffy games. Like they could lose, and it does depend on Ben's health.
I just thought.
Go ahead.
I just thought of something on one of my fantasy trades. This one is to Jacob. It's Juju Smith-Schuster.
Who I traded to you, by the way.
Who I wanted so bad, and he's been great on my team. But I am doing something in my team. For Clyde Edwards-Helaire on a bye week.
Oh my gosh! I mean, he has been good when he plays, though.
And then my trade to Aaron is Ben Roethlisberger.
Who's hurt?
For James Robinson,
who's a starting running back for the Jaguars.
Oh my gosh!
Oh man, I don't have a quarterback this week. I gotta go pick one.
So I think I've actually done pretty good in trades this year. I haven't done great, and I think I've made a few mistakes, but I feel pretty exonerated because if you look at Greg Kittle, I drafted Greg Kittle thinking Greg Kittle was going to have this absolutely baller year, and I knew for sure this guy was like the new thing, like he was going to overtake
Kelsey.
Yeah. So let me just look him up.
He is good. He just is hurt all the time.
Who were we talking about? George Kittle?
George Kittle. So, he's a free agent right now. Interesting. So Kittle, I started him the first week. He got 8 points, and then he was out for 2 weeks. And I said, the heck with this guy. Like, I can't stand the tight end position. I had Kelsey for like 3 years in a row, and he kept getting injured, or like they wouldn't throw to him because I think Kelsey got injured a couple games. Before that, I had Gronk, and Gronk can't make it 16 games if his life freaking depended on it. So I was done picking the most prolific tight end. So I traded him for Jackson. Jackson's the guy on the Miami Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings.
Vikings. That's not a team.
They're wide receiver, who I actually ended up trading away for Walker, the
tight end for the Raiders.
So I did pretty well in that trade. So I traded him between week 3 and week 4. Week 4 comes around, freaking Greg Kittle scores 40 points.
Oh, he went off.
And I felt stupid. I was getting roasted, and I clearly didn't know what I was talking about, and I was really regretting it. And then he did 8 points, 23 points, 10 points, 5 points, got injured, broke his ankles, done for the year.
Yep, he's out.
That's fantasy football luck right there.
Kelsey's been a freaking monster. He's having such a good year. That guy, like, he's so consistent this year. It's ridiculous.
So to change the subject, Tyler, fellow baseball fan,
sure.
Alex Cora got brought back as manager of the Red Sox. How do you feel about that? That's about the only thing happening in baseball, by the way. Talk about a boring sport where nothing ever happens. Like
off seasons are always terrible for baseball, but
the whole year is usually pretty terrible. Until playoff baseball.
The biggest reason I'm upset with their decision is it's not that they hired him back; it's the way that they're talking about why they hired him back. So I'm watching
avoided all the subjects.
I'm watching the press conference with Alex Cora, Chaim Bloom, the new GM, and Chaim Bloom is sitting there and he's saying we had a very long list of candidates and they were all vetted on the situation and blah 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 blah. And it's like, no, you didn't. That is a lie. You fully intended to have Alex Cora take a year off, and you don't want to make yourself look like a bunch of sellouts for a pretty okay head. He's a good head coach, I'll say that. But who is
he just does the 3-ring binder. That's it. Like who was all about.
Right. And this guy, Alex Cora was called the mastermind behind the Astros cheating scandal when he was one of the coaches on the Astros. And
can I just tell you this real quick? I lived in Astro territory, and there was this one guy on my Facebook feed that's like, Patriots fans, how do you deal with people constantly telling you that you're a cheater?
Touche.
That's a good
I was like, you just tune it out.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
You ain't trying. That's dang right.
So I just think, if you want to hire Alex Cora back, be transparent with the fans and say, we knew that he was going to be under some pressure. But we didn't know that he was going to not get, a slap in the wrist by the MLB. We didn't know he wasn't going to get in trouble, but with the MLB. And I think that they kind of foresaw this happening by not firing him and talking with him and saying, you need to resign so that we can, under, moral circumstances, rehire you. Because if we fire you and then hire you back, that just makes us look bad. So I just personally believe the Red Sox organization was completely out of options for a good head coach. And they brought back a head coach that would never get a job on any other team because of his involvement with the Astros cheating scandal. You will never see A.J. Hinch as a head coach or a coach in any MLB team ever again.
You don't think they'll give that guy another chance?
Nobody will hire. If the Astros for sure will not, and no other team is going to hire him.
Do you think the Brewers would get him, or some other? I don't have nothing.
The Brewers
about the
have a great head coach.
You mean manager?
I'm good with Cora.
Manager, yeah.
Or the Mets that just cleaned house, or the San Diego Padres, which are so irrelevant that that name popped into my head, but I forgot they even existed because they're so bad.
Are under great management.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Proves how much I know.
Dude, they're doing great. They got they have the new face of baseball on their team.
Yeah, who's that?
Fernando Tatis Jr.
Why is he the new face?
He's
insanely
good at baseball.
How is he better than Trout?
Trout is great. And I'm not saying the new face of baseball isn't saying the greatest baseball player ever or potential greatest. Mike Trout has that. Mike Trout has stats that are unmatchable. But Mike Trout has been on a team and under management for his entire career that refuses to give him any talent. They have stuck with Albert Pujols, even though he is washed up and not very good.
Wait, he's still playing?
I don't know if this was his last season or last season was his last season.
What?
He was still playing.
Yeah. Wow. How old is he now? Holy
I don't know,
crap.
but they're dishing out money to him. Anyways, Fernando Tatis Jr. is insane at baseball. He has great stats. He's young. He has potential to be one of the greats. And they call him the new face of baseball. That's not my opinion. This is what the league is calling him, the new face of baseball. He's a class act. He's a great guy. He's all around just an amazing baseball player. Anyways, back to the Alex Cora thing. I think it's a terrible move by the Red Sox because they're not being transparent about it. I think it's on the other side of it, it's a pretty smart move. Get him back in. He's a good head coach. He knows what he's doing. He has experience. He's won a World Series, whether or not he was cheating. Because in baseball, I'll say this, in baseball, cheating really only gets you so far. You still have to have talent, even if you're cheating.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. And you could
because
also
you got to be able to swing the bat.
Every team in baseball, in some way or another, like sign stealing, he got caught sign stealing, but it wasn't. The sign stealing isn't illegal. Is how he was communicating those stolen signs to his players, and that part is above. It's too far. They were
sign stealing definitely is one of the unwritten rules of baseball. Sign stealing could get you in a big fight in baseball and in a brawl in the field.
But I think that's what baseball lacks. Like, okay, so rather than like the Pedro Martinez's of the world, which if you hit a home run on him and he felt like there was some foul play on that, you just knew next time you're in the batter's box that you're going to have one go behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Right.
like you knew there was one sailing at your hind end because
Right.
he wasn't going to put up with that crap.
Right.
Like that was what made baseball when we were kids so good, is because they didn't put up with it.
That's
Like
why
they were all doing it, but they wouldn't put up with it. Now they just all do it, and like they don't talk about it, because if you talk about it, then you have to admit that you're doing it too, and it's so boring and nerdy and like, just
that's
get
why
somebody
at
and
the
go into a
moment,
fight.
that's why
Joe Kelly, man.
Yeah, Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly, fantastic, amazing.
Baseball needs a pitching clock. That's what they need.
Most fans are in agreement with putting a pitch clock in.
They need to speed that up.
Also, another thing they did, which is I think is great to speed up the game, is they tested it this year. I don't know if it stands for next year, but if a relief pitcher comes in, he has to face 3 batters.
I like that.
If you have a part of your rotation or a part of your batting order that is left, right, left, and the righty gets up and you bring in a right-handed pitcher, you got to stick with the right-handed pitcher for 3 batters. You can't bring in the right-handed pitcher and then go to the bullpen again after the right-handed pitcher either gets on base or strikes out, whatever, to go to a left-handed pitcher, because it just commercial breaks. You got to let them warm up, which I don't understand why pitchers have, throw a pitch or two. You don't have to throw 30 warm-up pitches on the mound. You've been pitching in the bullpen for 10, 20 minutes now. It's ridiculous.
How they tick. They're all neurotic and they have these weird ticks.
Yeah, it's all they have their weird routines and stuff.
Yeah.
So as far as I feel like about Alex Cora goes, I just feel it's shameless, and it just feels like it's weaselly. It just feels weaselly. Like,
would your opinion change if they were transparent about it and said, "Well, we knew he was going to be under fire by the MLB, and he didn't, so we're hiring him back"?
I think that's a good question, but I also don't think it's a good question because the Red Sox aren't transparent. They'll blow sunshine up your skirt.
Sure.
They're very worried about their image. They're never going to be transparent about it, and neither will any team, because that's. They want to be each, a team is a professional organization that wants to portray a particular image. But I wish they were more like the Saints when Sean Payton got, what did he get, suspended for a year, or was it longer than that for the headhunting thing?
Him and Greg Williams. Yeah,
for suspended
for like a headhunt. Greg Williams was like giving players bounties. He's like, hey, if you take this dude out of the game, I'll give you $10,000.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so they had a bounty
system. They got suspended? Oh, come on, that's great.
Well, he got suspended for a long time.
You don't want that in the league, but like, if I remember correctly, the Saints didn't fire Sean Payton; they just let him be suspended for a year.
Yeah.
Like, it couldn't have been. I think, Tyler, to your point, it couldn't have been more obvious this year that they were just going to go back and get Alex Cora. So again, you're right. Why not make it transparent? But not only that, and we had this huge debate earlier today on Messenger when we were talking about this. I really love the Red Sox, and I love watching. I grew up going to Fenway, and like, that 2004 World Series was amazing to me. But I have a hard time. I know.
Get Tyler going.
Tyler's ready to go. We're gonna save that little Tyler piece that he just wanted to do there for another time, because we need to give him time to do this.
We will have a 2004 Red Sox discussion, and we'll have a guest on that show. So
absolutely. So, and I want to give Tyler that chance. But as far as like this goes for now, I had just like. And the conclusion that we came to when we were arguing about this on Messenger is that, if you're winning and you're unlikable, that's fine. And I think it's Chris Gasper, who's a guy I listen to on radio, says that winning is a really good deodorant because it covers a lot of things that smell, right? Like, as far as your team goes. My problem with the Red Sox is they've won twice in recent memory, 2013, 2018, right? But all around that, last place, getting in fights with Eckersley because of things that were said in the broadcast booth, and Dustin Pedroia telling the other team it wasn't me, it was them, pointing to the bullpen, and just like Alex Cora going up there and talking about how he doesn't care about if the fans want the game to go faster. He's going to take as long as he can to get the win. Like, so many little things like that. And, David Price needs a certain type of laundry detergent, and he needs, he plays Fortnite, and that's why he was out. And JD Martinez won't go in on a tight spot because he doesn't have time to warm up and look at the film. And like, oh my gosh, like, it's the team right now is so freaking unlikable. Like, that 2004 team, you know who my favorite player was, Tyler? Mark Bellhorn.
Mark Bellhorn.
I think he batted second or Like he was just likable. I
Mhm.
love Trot Nixon and Kurt Schilling, who was totally unlikable as a person and still is.
It's,
But
Yeah,
what he
don't even
started,
get me started on Kurt Schilling and EA Sports.
oh
my
my
God,
god.
they were likable. And
Yeah.
this team now, including the manager, just I have a hard time liking them. There is not a single one of the things I brought up was that I love Brock Holt. Like, and I'm not saying Brock Holt was this talented guy, and he did hit for the cycle in Yankee Stadium, which made me pretty much unzip my pants because like
Well, also,
freak
I think a big thing that you
I-
missed there is he is the only player in MLB history to hit for the cycle in the postseason.
yeah, okay, so fine. Give me that credit for that then. Or
I'll
like,
give it
yeah,
to you.
like that's my player. Like but Brock Holt was no Mookie Betts. He couldn't hold Mookie Betts' jock strap for Pete's sake. But like he was likable. Who on the Red Sox right now, including the manager and the freaking college grad, Harvard, Yale, whatever he is, general manager, who on them is likable? Who of them is like
I'll tell you
someone
one.
you can
I'll tell
get
you.
behind and relatable, likable?
I'll tell you one person who I think is likable and just a great guy on the Red Sox to be there. Third baseman Rafael Devers.
I was thinking
is
Rafael. I was kind of thinking their second baseman too.
Xander Bogaerts. No, second
No, that's
baseman.
Victor Orsi. Yeah, I think
They-
they're new. They have like a new second baseman, don't they?
Yeah, they played in this season. I forget his name.
But anyways, go ahead.
But Rafael Devers as a likable person, he's a young kid. He went into the league at 19 years old. In 2018
Wow.
was his first year. He's 19. And he doesn't know a lick of English. But you can tell that he's just a young kid who absolutely loves baseball. You can tell when a person who is playing the sport loves the sport by how they act on the field. He gets mad at himself a lot when he messes up, when he strikes out, when he doesn't do something. He's always trying to work on it. And I think him and Xander Bogaerts are probably the two most likable guys in the Sox team. And that's two out of how many man roster do they have in baseball? Like 20-something?
Yeah, something like that. I couldn't
Well,
tell you.
also it's because they suck too, so they're not winning. I mean, it goes back to what you guys were saying before. If they were winning,
It would be
maybe we
a
wouldn't
different
care
story,
that
yeah.
much, you know. So
One, and I was like, all right, I can tolerate this guy. And then they sucked again. I'm like, all right, screw this guy.
Yeah.
right, when you're losing and they're not likable, it's just like, well, this like screw this team, I'm done with it. But if they're winning, even though they're like d-bags, you're like, all right, well, we're winning, so that's all that matters.
My
So
problem with the Red Sox is that they keep going from one extreme to the other. And so when you're in that extreme of like 2 years of them being in last place and sucking and you hear all these horrible stories, it's really hard the next year to buy in because you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for someone not to know how to hit. You're waiting for someone to crap their pants on the mound in the playoffs. And I openly admit that's how I felt in 2018. I hope they lost every game. And then they faced the Yankees in Yankee Stadium after the Yankees were chanting, "We want Boston, we want
Mhm.
Boston," and we wiped them out. Like, oh, it was so great.
wow, I remember the woundies on that one. he was so mad.
So
I'm
joyful.
sorry. Oh, he was so mad.
It's fun to watch as you're trying to run away because at a moment's notice, the anger might turn towards you, and then it becomes like, okay.
You know, something that I really feel bad for Nathan, one of my family members, and most Yankees fans, is that you have a team right now and for the past couple of years who probably has some of the most talent on their team in baseball. And you spend all this money last year to get Garrett Cole on your team, a Cy Young award. I'm pretty sure he's won a Cy Young, a future Hall of Famer if he stays where he's at, and they can't even make it to the World Series.
In a shortened season.
Let alone win it or lose it. They can't even make it. They haven't been to the World Series since 2009.
Love it.
Wow, I didn't know it was that long. That's crazy.
It was like the longest since like the 1900s or 19 teens or something like
They
that. They
cannot get there. And it's because when the Yankees spend a bunch of money in the American League, so do the other teams in the American League. And whether or not, you get cheated out in the American League Championship Series by the Red Sox and then by the Astros and then Red Sox, whether or not you think that, it's just, I feel bad because it comes down to bad luck, and it comes down to your management not being able to manage your players well.
Yeah.
But I hate the Yankees. The Yankees suck, and I hope they keep losing. I just feel bad.
There it is.
I feel bad,
So this is what's wrong with them. And I hope it stays that way.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what's wrong with the Yankees? We want them to do better, but at the end of the day, the true Red Sox fan will say, "Yeah, but I hope they freaking lose every. I hope they all get caught cheating with pine tar on their
Kind of
neck
messed
or
up
whatever."
when you think about it. Like, you're rooting for their dysfunction.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's like
That's
you're
how I
rooting
am
for
with
that
the
kid
Chiefs
across
right
the
now.
street for his family to like split apart and stay apart. Like,
That's
you're
how
not
it was.
being
That's how it
broken.
was. That's how it was with the Cowboys. I bet my beard on a Cowboys Patriots game and won, and got to shave the other guy's beard off.
Wow.
Is beard, is that actually symbolism for another area with hair? You're just trying to
It's on
gross.
Facebook. So no, that's
that code.
No, there was no foul play there.
It's probably a good time to end. We went
On
a
that
little long.
On that high note, we will have a guest with us next week.
Ooh, looking forward to him.
We are looking forward to talking Cowboys with a true blue Cowboys fan. We'll see you next week.